and then we'll have a talk. That's how interviews work. I don't know why I'm explaining. I'm sure you've seen. You know what an interview is. This is going to end up as the intro now. Now we're getting very meta. Right, let's do the actual intro. Even though we've already done the intro, I could just.
And then after that we talk, right?
And then after that we talk. Yeah. So I'm going to ask questions.
Yeah.
And then you'll answer questions.
I'll just write this down.
Yeah, please do. So I ask questions.
Ask questions.
Have you got that? Is that too quick?
Yeah. Ask questions. Yeah.
And then you're going to answer questions. Yeah. I ask questions. You answer the questions.
That makes sense.
Actually. Yeah. Cool. And then at the end we wave at people. Hello, one and all, and welcome to Creative Spark, my YouTube show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they are doing. With me today is the epitome of the I'm just a little green goblin guy, Gabriel from The Ugly Goblin. Hello.
What a brilliant introduction. That's wonderful. I'm delighted with that. Can you, yeah, fantastic.
I really like my little intros.
I love that you consider me cool and also just a little guy. That's the ideal. That's exactly what I'm working for.
It's the Venn diagram we're looking for.
Yeah.
You can't really represent a Venn diagram with your hands very well. There's a stupid thing to do. We're learning on the job here. Anyway, how are you?
Get on screen. Very good. I'm very good. Just got back from Ireland, which is nice, and now back in Finland and back on the grind, as they say, making maps, making videos, and sending out a little, as I am a little goblin guy, just sending out loads of April Fool's Day texts to people and getting phone calls back.
Absolute menace. I've done one April Fool's tweet. I don't really like April Fool's as a general rule. We're recording on April Fool's. I'm not a huge fan of it because I work in games journalism and you just get so many bum PR emails and it's just not worth it. But I did tweet that a friend of mine who's bald is actually faking it and he just wears a bald cap. Wow. I didn't tweet. I'm not on Twitter. I blue skied. I'm not
blue
saying.
Sky. There we go. We like blue
I'm
sky.
not saying the other thing. They say. Skeet.
I don't know how they work though. It's like just sending stuff into the void. It's like, am I famous now? Do people care what I'm saying?
Isn't that just the internet in general?
I'm terrible for April Fools. I just love any opportunity to just be an absolute troll. Like in my secondary school, or for Americans, like high school, the end of high school. You know, I was asked to do like the graduation speech. So that was like a really big responsibility and all that stuff. But there's also a tradition in my school that on the last day, people do little pranks around the school. One time, I think someone brought a cow into the school. But I was like, okay, I don't know, but they brought it up the stairs and cows can't go downstairs. So there was a cow up in this like raised platform. Anyway, I was like, I spent the whole night preparing for it. I did caricatures of all my teachers. I cut out, I had this like black sticker sheet. It was just like a black sheet and it was like stickery thing. So you can peel it back off and it turns into a sticker. I cut out Batman batarangs because I'm obsessed with Batman. And then I got in at 6 a.m. into the school and I drew troll faces, like the classic meme troll face in permanent marker on every whiteboard in every classroom. And then I put Vaseline on the handles, which was apparently the worst thing I did. Which I did not expect. But at one stage then, after all the kind of hullabaloo went down and everything else, my principal brought everyone to the church because we're an Irish school. Everything happens in a church. He brought us all over there for like a meeting before we were going to practice for the graduation. I think the graduation was that evening or something like that. And he was just like, I've been put in quite the predicament because we have a very talented individual doing our speech this evening. He's done a really good job, and I don't think I have the time to get a new person in. So I can't expel him. And basically, I was like, wow, okay, cool. So that worked out kind of nicely. But we found a compromise. I went around with a bunch of like, just pure alcohol and was just cleaning all the whiteboards all day. And but apparently Vaseline was the worst because they got it on their hands and they have to wipe it on their clothes or whatever. Wiped all the Vaseline off everything. The Batarang's got to stay though. There's still Batarangs somewhere in that school.
Well, that's good to know. Is that what inspired your channel name then? Like that general vibe?
It's funny because like goblins they weren't originally like my favorite monster. I love classic monsters. I love all the OG monsters like gelatinous cube, goblins, kobolds, and I love trying to make them shine even against like bigger like parties, like higher level parties and stuff, like make them always valid and relevant. So I did enjoy using those characters, but it's actually, I think, when I met my partner, my fiance now, that she had a love for goblins. She loved goblins. And I started using way more goblins in my games from then on. And I just found that I adore just being these little scrunkly guys. I've got these like old goblin merchants who are like, hey, what's up, kid? Just like have shotguns and stuff. Like they're just like the most unhinged characters you can think of. And so I had another avatar called Cascando. He was like this little marshmallow boy. That's like kind of my I use it on all my socials. And I was like, I wanted to do something different. I want to separate myself from that. And so when I was making this channel, I was like, I need to come up with a new character, someone original and something fresh, I think, because I wanted it to be a fresh thing. This was at a period of time as well where I've been living in Finland for a little while. I was originally a designer, like freelance designer, and I wasn't finding work, which is fine. I had some contacts still that I was in contact with. And I was like, at one stage, I'm like, I'm just going to set up a YouTube channel because I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to like just share some of my knowledge, see what I can do. I've always wanted to do YouTube in general. As a little kid, I used to make videos as well. But when I was coming up with a concept, I did a bunch of sketches and I still wanted that kind of marshmallow bean shape kind of thing. I was also like, he's got to have an almond shaped head kind of because all cute things have almond shaped head like Stitch and Toothless. It's like that's the key to getting cute characters. And I just drew a goblin. I was like, Goblin was like the perfect iconic thing like to use. And his little jacket, then his little woolen coat, was actually it's like a throwback to one of my other favorite NPCs, who was turned into a sheep. He was a very powerful wizard, but at one stage he was nerfed into just a sheep in the party, and they had to babysit him. And he's my kind of like my original, my favorite NPC I think that I've ever made. He's called Zavion. So I fused them, I stuck them together, hello cute sheep and goblin, and the sketches just kept going. Then from that, I was like, this is perfect. This is so much fun to draw.
That's amazing. Why did you so you said you've always liked YouTube and you always wanted to do it, but like what actually spurred you on to starting? Was it just the work situation?
I think there was definitely that for sure. I had tried doing YouTube stuff before. Like everyone's probably always tried to make like a gaming channel. And
this was a gaming channel. There's a bunch of unlisted videos of me doing gaming stuff. So
like when I was about like 9 or 10, I used to make videos, but I wasn't allowed to upload them to YouTube because my parents didn't want me to go into that world. And,
those are good parents.
Yeah, probably. But I was gutted. But I got to
Obviously.
pretend they were up there. I put them on DVDs and stuff, and I still have some like DVDs and CDs out there.
That's very cool.
But then later in college, I was like, I'd always wanted to do that. I want to try to do that. So I tried doing video games and tried doing a few of those. They were so cringy. I also tried vlogging as well, like every day, which was exhausting, and I hated it. And I realized that I'm just doing this to like become famous. It's not actually going anywhere too. And then I'm disappointed because I'm not becoming big. It's just classic. So then eventually, like during COVID and stuff, I'd bounced around loads of jobs. I've had like every kind of job under the sun. And eventually, and always in the background, it was like design work and painting murals. But during COVID, it was like an opportunity where I was like, I was doing so much Dungeons and Dragons. I was running so many games, and I was like, I'd love to. And I developed my kind of homebrew world at this stage, which is about 10 years old at this stage. But I kind of finished the map of the world and everything. I'd just come back from Japan and had just so much ample time to have made all this world and lore. And I was like, how do I make money out of this? How can I just like make money out of this eventually? And so for ages, that would always been in the back of my mind, like, how can I even just get this out there and just share this world and things I'm creating with people? And I felt like I had a lot to say. And I was like, okay, when I eventually in Finland, I was like, I'm going to put a YouTube channel together. I was like, okay, I want to do this properly though. I don't want to like half commit. I'm going to like make sure that I get a video up every week. I'm going to set a schedule for myself. And it's just going to be a nice hobby for me to consistently be creative to. Be working on something that I enjoy and share stuff that I like. And I'm like, I looked at all the channels that I enjoyed, did loads of research, like how YouTube works, all that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and just try to release a video. And there came a point where I did like, I don't know, I released like 3 probably. I was like, man, this is tiring. I'm going to stop now. I'm like, no, you can't stop. You've only just started, man. And then I think very quickly after that, after maybe my 4th, I got to like 100 subscribers all of a sudden. And then that was like, okay, 100 people are watching me. Now I can't stop because they're like, hey, we want to see more of your stuff. And kind of on the way. And then all of a sudden I jumped to 500. And a few days later, like a week later or something, it was at 1,000. So I was like, okay, I'm committed. I'm in now.
they reeled you in.
It was great. Yeah. I was like, it was a nice motivation because I was like, okay, people are enjoying this. I think I got very lucky too that I just got a nice bit of momentum at the start. But it came to it was about Christmas time. I started around October or something, around Halloween. And then about Christmas time, I actually chatted to Alan from the Dungeon Coach. So he's made DC20 and stuff like that. So I can't remember how I got in contact with him. I think I just sent out a bunch of tweets and stuff and like emails to random YouTube and content creators like, hey, I'm doing this thing and it's kind of getting big now. Like, do you have any tips for me? And he was one of the only people who got back to me and was like, he actually replied to me in an email. I said something like, I know you're probably super busy and you probably don't have any time for me or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he did get back to me. He's like, I don't usually reply to these emails, but if you want, you seem like a nice guy. We can organize like a 10-minute chat or something like that. We did. Or was it even that? No, he sent me a video reply.
All right.
And he was like, you just seem like a nice guy. I'll send you this. And so I sent one back. And then he was like, oh, wow, you seem really genuine, really nice guy. Let's have a call. And we chatted. He gave me advice then. Because I was at a point where I was like, I wasn't getting any design work. But YouTube was doing really well. But I didn't know if I was going to make money from it for a long time. And I was basically asking him, like, do you think I should keep going with YouTube? Or should I push really hard to find more work and put my energy into that? And he said, look for more work because YouTube is very fickle and you're never going to make money for a long, long time. And I was like, that's really good advice. I needed to hear that. And so I started doing some work for my dad. He's got an animation festival. It's called Animation Dingle. It's really, really big animation festival. We just came back from that.
Very cool.
But I started doing that. So that gave me a little bit of money to keep going. And YouTube continued growing. I made a Jiu-Jitsu Kaizen video at one stage and that exploded as well. And did another one. Then that's my biggest video so far. I think it has like 250,000 views or something like that. So that really helped. And then just come summertime then, I was okay, my Patreon and everything else. I made a Patreon around Christmas time just so I would have it. And by summertime then, I was earning enough money to be like, oh, I can pay my bills at least with this. So, and I still have no design work. So.
Do you think you'll ever go back to the design work, or are you now like? I know you're doing YouTube full time now, so that's the focus?
I mean, that's the main focus, yeah. But just recently, like a friend of mine, he made a short movie called Score, which just premiered, and I did the poster for that. And it's like
very cool,
smart work for it. So like, if it comes around, I'm happy to take money. Like I've never had money in my life, so it's just if any way I can get a little bit of money, a little bit of coins. Yeah, definitely am a goblin. Yeah, definitely.
Very fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I've never had anything like that. So it's like, yeah, I've gotten smart, I think. And I think if you want to make money off YouTube, you need to have a bit of a business mind too. You can't just be making videos. You've got to be clever too with. Yeah.
Has it been a strange adjustment moving from? I mean, I guess you're still sort of freelancing in a way, so I guess that helps. But has it been a strange adjustment shifting to your own stuff instead of doing other people's stuff?
I mean, more than anything, it's kind of flattering, and it is surreal every time like someone on my Patreon goes over and like pays whatever subscription or tier. I just like literally from the bottom of my heart, it just means the world to me, and I have to thank every single one of them because for me, I'm the kind of guy who goes on a Patreon, pays the €5, and then cancels the membership after I've gotten all this stuff. Which is terrible. There are
you truly are a goblin.
I'm not. Like, yeah, I am. Yeah, 100%. it's just one of those ones, like, you know, I've always had to be like clever with the money that I've got as well. Things like Amazon and stuff terrify me. You know, you just forget that you subscribe to Amazon subscriptions. You're like, oh no, they've taken another €8 out of my account, which is it's so silly. But I think the biggest way it's kind of affected me is like, people are supporting what I'm doing and are allowing me to do this, and that is just the amount of encouragement that comes from that is crazy. But I think the coolest thing was I was at an Irish funeral, and we kind of knew
the coolest thing was I was at an Irish funeral is a heck of a sentence.
Funerals in Ireland are like probably the biggest event you can ever have. It's lovely too in Ireland. You know, we really you really have that closure with death. Like, people openly talk about death so much, and knowing who's died is like key in, like, it's like super valuable information as well. Like, if you're the person who knows who's died, you're like hot stuff in the community. But I was at an Irish funeral, but didn't really know, it was like, you know, a friend of my parents basically. So I was just sitting then at the kids table, and it came up, like, I was chatting to all these kids and, you know, doing magic tricks or whatever. And their mom came over and it's like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like, actually, funnily enough, I'm doing YouTube full time. And like all the heads of the kids that turned, I'm like, what? And then they found out I was doing D&D, and they're like, oh my God, I was the coolest guy then at the party. And that felt kind of cool. You know, that was the first time people were like, whoa, you're a YouTuber. And I was explaining to other people, like even adults thought it was like, oh, that's kind of impressive that you're making a career doing something creative, which is, you know, the goal for me in life. I can't do 9 to 5. Tried.
Too much neurodivergency? Question mark.
Too much what?
Neurodivergency. Usually.
Maybe I should be tested. Who knows? Maybe
I hate to be the one to break this to you, but like 90% of the people I've interviewed, higher than that probably, have some version, some flavor of neurodivergency. It seems to be a requisite for not being able to do 9 to 5 and having a creative outlet as your main income.
Maybe, yeah, creativity and neurodivergency, or maybe just intermingled. Yep. Can't separate them.
Yep. Also, I think neurodivergency is a lot more common than people realize.
Definitely gotta be. If you don't have it, you're boring. You're boring as hell. Maybe
your brain just works. Ooh, brother. Ooh.
You can contain a consistent rip. Sorry, I'm just getting Skittles here. Is that a neurodivergence? Oh my God. Maybe.
You people will be able to clip that where it like properly clicks into place in your head, and you're like, oh no.
The Skittles.
The Skittles are the key. How do you pick what to do videos
on? God, that's a good question. It's kind of now there's just such a backlog of ideas that I'm almost kind of just catching up with them. It's a combination of a bunch of different things. There's like, you know, what I'm really interested in right now. Another classic neurodivergent kind of thing. It's like, I'm obsessed with this thing now. So that's the topic. So there's that for sure. I try to do a bit of research too. Like when Jujutsu Kaisen the second season came out, I was like, I'm going to see if I can capitalize on that. And it worked. Everyone had brain rot from it. It had just ended when my video came out. So people were craving that. I should do that more often. I should research and actually plan a bit more often. But a lot of the times I'll put out polls. I'll do a combination of things, you know. It'll be polls, send that out to people, see what they're interested in, what they want to see more of on my channel. Because in the end of the day, when you first release a video, it's people who are subscribed who are going to see your content first and are going to watch it and then tell YouTube this is popular, so I should share it to everyone else. So I've found, you know, skill trees are very popular. My audience seems to like anime, and kind of my homebrew world has like people's attention, which is amazing because it's one of those ones that, you know, it's kind of so personal too. I'm kind of also one of those ones people, you know, everyone wants to talk about their D&D campaign. And it's super fun to listen to other people's D&D campaigns, but everyone only wants to talk about their campaign. They don't necessarily want to listen to other people's campaign. I think that's a thing. I think that's more of a thing. So in my head, I'm like, no one really wants to know about my world that I've made. But then again, I think worlds are maybe different to like the shenanigans that go on. I don't know. But I love world building videos. So a lot of the time I'll make stuff that I would want to watch. What else? Yeah, there's just loads of factors. But I am now starting to realize and lean more towards the fact that I need to like make more content that people subscribed for, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then every now and then do a fun thing. Or if I've done a thing on Patreon, which I haven't covered a video on, I'll usually wait a good while to release a video on some content I've made exclusively on Patreon. Just to give a bit of a chance so that's special to them. And I don't try to do that too often, but sometimes if I'm a little stuck and stuff, I'm like, well, at least I've got the homebrew stuff here. It's tough as well. I need to also, I'm struggling to start making videos as well that don't require as much prep beforehand, because I've found myself going into a loop where I make so much homebrew content. And they're usually really big projects. Like my first class of skill tree was a 53-page Google document. And then I made one video I made maybe 2 videos on it. And I'm like, I need to milk that more. I need to make the thing and then make several videos on it. So I can then catch up with myself. But I don't do that. I just kind of like, well, I want to do a new cool thing. I'm finished with that now. I want to move on to a new thing.
Yeah, it's definitely ADHD, but yeah. People are going to start watching my videos and be like, does he just diagnose everyone with ADHD? And
it's contagious. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm spreading it through the microphone. You were fine before we were talking, and then, yeah. You know, no, not. Stop it. In the long run, what is the aim for your channel? What are you hoping to achieve with it?
So this summer, I'm hoping to start my first Kickstarter, because I want to have money to pay for my fiance's and I's wedding and my wedding next year. And I think if I want to make this a feasible career, I want to start making a bit more Kickstarters. That's kind of what a lot of YouTubers in the D&D communities tend to do. And it really excites me. And it's lovely that I have the audience there who are really excited for a book and things like that. So long term, it'd be lovely just to be making just content and books and Kickstarters and stuff. Obviously, I think that's the main goal for a lot of YouTubers who do D&D at least. I would love to have eventually like my own little system that fits in my own homebrew world of Gostar, and just have people playing it and making their own stories in that world and trying out a cool, fun system that's maybe slightly more anime-esque inspired. I think that's like a whole new branch of fantasy as well. That's like developing is
anime fantasy. Yeah,
anime fantasy. Yeah, for sure. That's like what the next generation are kind of growing up with. Like, I think also like, and I also have noticed, a lot of classic anime fantasy has been very video game heavy.
Yeah.
But we're starting to now see also that Japan's realizing it's not just video games, it's also like Tolkien and all that kind of stuff. Like Dungeon Meshi as well.
Yeah.
Was a really good example of that, more kind of classic fantasy. But
very good point.
I'm not sure what the question was. That the question? I answered the question.
What was the long run? Yeah, that'll do. I'm going to mock you for a brief moment now. So about 10 months ago, I did give you a heads up ages ago. We're going back to it. This is foreshadowing from before the video, which you won't know, but that's fine. About 10 months ago, you did your video on your skill tree system and how it was the future of D&D. And having watched that video, I am legally obliged to ask in what world that wasn't already its own system, instead of one that doesn't go onto D&D. You know that, right? Like, did that ever go onto D&D in your head? Was that genuinely the intention when you were designing it?
My intention was to save myself like more work and turmoil, I wanted to make the classes thing. So I did realize it was a very big thing. Like, was it 10 months ago I did the very first like thing of the skill?
It was the 10 months ago or so was the class trees, skillless class trees, the classless skill trees are the future of D&D was around 10 months ago. Yeah.
So I remember when I first was coming up with the design, this is something I've wanted to do for so long. And in my head, though, it was literally just like symbol of a shield, a symbol of a dagger, and a symbol of magic or something like that. And like, these are the foundations. And then you could go anywhere. I think also I've been obsessed with the idea of making a classless D&D thing for ages. My very first campaign in Gostar, I made level 0 characters for all my players, and I made them into D&D characters, and they were all classes characters. So when I was making this and designing this, and as I was putting down all my like sticky notes on the floor, and it was getting bigger and bigger, I'm like, I think I was chatting as well to Alan again, asking him like his advice. Like, do you think it should be should I make my own TTRPG system, or should it be whatever? He was saying like you should maybe do like skill trees for things. That's these weird things. Skill trees kind of work for you or whatever. But like when I was originally designing it, I was also watching him make his Kickstarter. I was playtesting DC20, and I had a realization, like so many people will say to you like, this should just be its own system. Yeah, and it's very easy to say that, but even though there's a bunch of work put in the classes, skill tree, and all that kind of stuff, you have to also consider, like, you've now got to write, if you make it its own system, you've got to write all the new mechanics, like how they all work. You can't necessarily copy completely from D&D. You've got to kind of make it its own thing. You've got to build all the kind of new races and species and everything else. The biggest thing for me is you've just got to build this massive arsenal of monsters. Yeah. And that was for me, that was like, I can't make it its own system because that's too much work. Right. Even though I made a whole like system basically, but I was like, that's just such a rabbit hole to start spiraling down. And so my way of thinking was like, okay, I'll incubate it in D&D and see if it works basically. And so that's been kind of like my, bowling bumpers. I can't think of like a better comparison. I'm like, it's safe now. As long as it's in D&D, I can't start spiraling out into insanity. So that's my safety precautions for it. And I was like, it makes sense. The way I can rationalize it too is like, this was also a nice, like, I can please both people this way. I can please the people who's like, make it its own system, but also I can just keep myself sane, I suppose.
But you're not doing that anymore. You are making its own system.
Yeah, I accidentally did that during my holiday. I was like, but what if I did? And I started sketching down ideas, and I was like, wow, that was really easy, actually. I've made a system. Now I just need to make all the monsters for it. So yeah, it's pretty fun, and I wanted to make it original. I didn't want to use a D20. I do these things. It's really fun. I love just giving myself little challenges. Like I remember one time I was going into the shower, and I was like, I wonder if I could make just a really quick RPG system. I wonder if I should do a video on that. And then in the time of the 10 minutes or whatever I was in the shower for, I don't know if that's a long time to have a shower or not. I made a system. I made a little thing with playing cards. I was like, wow, that was fun, and I need to still make a video on it. It's just fun. It's kind of like my version of crochet. Yeah. That I just loved, like jotting down notes and then seeing it expand, and it's fun. Good fun.
It's very, very cool.
I'll do a live stream on that soon.
Ooh. Yeah, make sure you follow. I mean, follow the Ugly Goblin, obviously.
Thank you.
All of the 3 people that will watch this. I need to stop being so self-denigrating on my own YouTube channel.
I'm gonna share the hell out of this.
I'm just so British, like it's so built into my to my soul to be self-deprecating. Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you do well in anything in Ireland, you're a terrible person.
Yeah, it's properly like head chopped off, like the tall flowers get cut mode. Yeah, 100%. Love Look, we're not going into that. That was I very nearly slipped into a deep dark hole. Then.
Oh yeah, I was about to, I saw it and I was like, no, we're
stop.
stay on track.
Everybody stop.
But also in terms of being Irish, I said this earlier, but yeah, you trying to insult me is just like a form of endearment.
Yeah,
insulting someone is like, we're friends now. You can insult someone.
Yeah. I've adopted Gobi's method of friendship, which is by if we've had a conversation and I think it's gone well, we're friends now. That's genius, and I'm taking it. Yeah. Do you have a rough idea of when the system will be done? When it will be like ready?
That's the scariest question. That's really scary. I mean, it's done. It's kind of done. But for everyone else, that's the big question I need to figure out. I know I could very easily just start making it into a Kickstarter now, but I know that it won't do as well if I don't have the knowledge on how Kickstarters work. So it hurts that I know I need to make a small Kickstarter first to see if it works out. So I'm going to hopefully do that this summer. And if it's like super easy to do Kickstarter and it only takes like a little while, then maybe next year I'll have a Kickstarter. I then need to decide though if it's going to be just like a kind of module or like, a mod for D&D. Because I also think that might be a good selling point. Sometimes another big thing as well, and I'm also guilty of this too. I think a lot of people as well, like we like D&D, like it's our comfort food, and it's difficult to try out a new system a lot of the time. Yeah. But in making my class's system not its own system, but saying it's D&D, you kind of trick people, and they're like, yeah, I could just easily adapt this into my games. And that's another thing, if you review other TTRPGs on YouTube that it's not D&D, people don't watch them as much because D&D has such a strong brand now, and that's not
the algorithm. That's people's viewing habits. If you're somebody who's like, it's because the algorithm promotes D&D. No, it's because people click on D&D. It's not the algorithm's fault. It's people's fault. Sorry.
So if you want to review, say like Break, for example, amazing, you'd just be like, wow, this is better than D&D. You got to have D&D in there somewhere. But it's like D&D but anime or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, if I make this thing at Kickstarter, I need to figure out if I want to make it its own system or if I want to make it D&D related. Or if I make the D&D related thing, do I make another Kickstarter after that? That's its own system.
Would you have to check I guess it's third-party stuff, and the SRD should cover it. But there's obviously the risk of you make it for D&D and then you can't make it for you. I don't think that's the way that works, but that is worth considering.
Yeah, that's definitely that's a scary thought for sure.
Huh. Worth looking into. I think the world of third-party rule systems is really interesting in D&D. And I recently picked up the Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting on D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond is hard to use, but I play digitally, so here we are. And the crafting rules are sick. It's everything I want from a D&D add-on is to be able to reward players for combat in a way that isn't just experience, and letting them, pluck out the eye of a rock to turn into goggles of night vision is sick.
So cool.
Yeah, so I think there's arguments in favor of it being in its own system as well as it's being like a tie-in.
Yeah, seeing Shadowdark was pretty successful when it first did its first Kickstarter, but now it's on doing a second one, and it's already like in the millions.
Yeah.
So that's also very inspiring and kind of comforting to know that it maybe it will be successful. And also like DC 20 had something like 6 million or something. Yeah. It was like crazy numbers. So I think I'll just have to see where I go with it. Thing is as well, how many monsters do I want to make? Like that's another. I just keep thinking of more. Like, yeah, and I don't need to do that either. I know that you can probably be like, here's a stencil for basic monsters and release a book or whatever. But I don't know. I always feel like what I'm doing isn't enough, and I should be doing more. It's a weird one. I'm like, this isn't perfect yet. Yeah.
That's my. I need an alert that pops up whenever I look at the camera. It's just like neurodivergency.
Oh no!
Not again. You don't have to be neurodivergent.
Really?
That's
You
my
could
life
choose.
advice. Yeah, no, I think if you are, you're stuck with it. I don't think you
Fair.
can just choose. I don't think you
I
can
wonder if I
choose
can trick people. You
into
know,
being
that's kind of fun.
neurodivergent or not being
Or just
neurodivergent.
not. I guess that maybe I have. Maybe I've just been thinking I've been tricking people all this time, but the only one I've fooled is myself.
That's deep. um, Wonderful. I think we've covered all the basic questions. So, is there anything that you would like to plug?
Ooh.
Channel, obviously, will be in the
Yeah.
description.
The Ugly Goblin. If you want to support me in my homebrews, I've also got an Ugly Goblin Patreon. No, I'm just happy. Just I don't think I need to plug anything. Just if you're interested, check me out. Don't subscribe if you don't think you're interested
Don't
because it
subscribe.
just mucks me up. I'm telling people not to subscribe now. That's the cool thing to do
This
because
is not the cool thing.
if you subscribe, like pro tip, maybe I think if you say you've got 20,000 subscribers, and only like 100 of them watch your stuff, then your videos are going to do really bad. So it's kind of cool not to have as many subscribers. That's why I'm at the number I'm at. I don't want to have any more because I'm more about concentration.
Yeah, that's why I'm at like 340 subscribers.
Yeah.
'Cause it's
You're
cool,
well
actually.
on it.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
well
yeah.
on that.
Yeah. I did have millions, and I was like, no, please.
Yeah, you just
Stop sending me
deleted them all.
money. Go away.
Basically, but no, thank you for having me. This has been very
No, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you finding time for it. I appreciate that you're busy. We're going to say goodbye now, which is where we wave at the camera, pointy hat style. So yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.